All right, ladies and gentlemen, so you now understand 3 of the 4 functions that we were going to teach you initially. The 3 functions that you guys do understand are text, you also got solids, and shape layers. And there's a lot to understand with these. Let's quickly recap them together. Text layers are layers that hold text. There's 3 main ways to stylize them: properties, effects, and animator. Properties you already know, effects we have a separate masterclass on, animator tool, you'll learn that later on. Then you guys learned solids, and solids there's 2 ways to stylize them: properties and effects. Properties you already learned, effects you are going to have a separate masterclass for that. And the third one is a shape layer, and a shape layer is a layer that holds different shapes. There are many different shapes that you can place inside of a shape layer. You can even draw out your own shapes with your pen tool, and you can stylize them in many different ways, either the shape layer properties, which you guys learned in the last episode, or the effects and the animator tool as well. You're not going to be using the animator tool, so just the effects, which we have a separate course. Now we get to the final one, which is the adjustment layer. Now the adjustment layer is very simple and it's very straightforward, and it literally is in the name, but it just takes a while to understand because it's a weird function. Okay, so it is going to be simple, and when I use it now, you guys are going to understand it. Now, this is one of those things that isn't necessary for you to become a good editor, right? I wouldn't say isn't necessary. It probably is necessary, but it isn't so important now. There's so much more to learn now about other things than sit here and try and understand adjustment layers. So if you don't understand this, I don't want you to panic at all. I want you to just feel perfectly fine, because you can keep moving through with this course and not understand adjustment layers. As a matter of fact, you could keep moving through this course and not understand anything we just explained, because as you go about it and try it yourself, you're going to easily see how we can use all of these. So if you're struggling to understand anything, just keep moving forward, and I promise you, you're going to naturally pick it up with time. So don't worry too much about it. Now, adjustment layers are a very simple concept. Adjustment layers, I'm going to quickly explain it for you. Okay, I'm over here inside of After Effects. To add in my adjustment layer, I just right click on new, and go down to adjustment layer. When I add my adjustment layer, nothing changes. The reason is adjustment layers are, get ready for this, they are empty layers. That's all that they are. So it might be like, well, what do you use them for? Can I add a shape inside of it? No, you can't. Because if you use the shape layer mask, then you mask out a part of the adjustment layer. Can I add a solid inside of it? No, that's for the solid layers. Can I write text inside of it? No, you're going to need a text layer for that. So what can I use adjustment layers for? Well, it's really simple. Whenever I've thought of adjustment layers, the easiest way I've understood them is like adding in a window. Like you can see through a window, but there's a window there. The way we use adjustment layers is they are empty layers that we can add effects onto. Okay, so a layer that's empty, a layer that behaves like a glass window, and we can add effects on them while still being able to see through the effects. And the way this is useful is if you want to apply an effect to the entire scene. Like if you just created a magical 3D scene and you want to slap an effect on top of everything, you add an adjustment layer, which is like that glass window between the viewer and the scene, and you add all the effects on the glass window. I think this might be the best explanation I've ever made on adjustment layers. So if you don't understand adjustment layers, it's hopeless. No, I'm kidding, it's okay. So for adjustment layers, how do we go about using them? To go about using them, we first need to understand effects. And to understand effects, we've got a whole masterclass on this later on, so don't even worry about it. But this is all you need to understand. Adjustment layers, they are just layers that are kind of like a glass window. And whatever effect you apply on it, I'll give you a quick example. If I applied let's say I apply one of the common ones is there's an effect called brightness and contrast. Okay, and I'll quickly show this for you guys. So I've got my adjustment layer over here. If I head over to my effects tab, I can search, give After Effects a moment to not crash. I can search up something called brightness and contrast, and we can try this together. If I drag in my brightness and contrast effect on my adjustment layer, I can change my brightness and my contrast inside of my effect controls. As soon as I drop my brightness, you guys will notice this drops the brightness on everything inside of our scene. As soon as I play around with the contrast, this messes the contrast with everything inside of our scene. Now, once again, this is a shape layer. This is an adjustment layer. So it's a glass panel on top of it all that's applying this effect to the whole scene. The easiest way to think about it is, let's imagine you, the camera, is the viewer. So you're the person watching this scene, and I, inside of the camera, am the scene. The adjustment layer is just a glass panel that comes in between you and I, and I can add effects on this glass panel. So you have to see me through this adjustment layer. Now check this out. If I place the adjustment layer under one of my shape layers, or under all three of them, now none of my shape layers are applied to the effects of the adjustment layer. Why? Because now my glass panel is behind my shape layers, but it's still in front of my text and in front of my background. Instead, if I apply it on top of two shape layers and just leave, for example, the top one, which is the triangle, let's apply it to this first shape layer alone and leave these other two alone, you'll notice it applies to the shape layer under it, to the text under it, to the background under it, but not to the two shape layers on top. So the adjustment layer is, think of it like a glass panel. And the way we use this is whenever we have an edit and we want to add something we call post-production, which are effects that we add in after we've completed the animation to make it look way better. So I'm talking about things like the grain effect that makes it look realistic. You've got like vignettes around the corners, blurs. Like example, if I added in a Gaussian blur effect, which you guys are familiar from Premiere Pro, if I add in a Gaussian blur effect and I make this blurry, this is probably a much better example, you guys will see everything is going to get blurry. Now, as soon as I place my adjustment layer under my shape layer, everything's blurry except this triangle. Now, under my circle, everything's blurry except the circle. Under my rectangle, everything except the rectangle, the circle, and the triangle is blurry. Under my text, only the background is blurry. Under my background, nothing is blurry. Okay, so you guys understand now how these adjustment layers work. They're just free, empty layers that have effects inside of them. Okay, so with this being said, guys, that is it for all of our functions. There are four main functions that you need to understand. There is text, there is solids, there's shape layers, and there's adjustment layers. And just these four, they're going to go a very long way with us. You guys are going to be seeing how we can use these four different, basically, functions to do anything inside of After Effects. There is so much to learn here. There is so much to do, and I'll be guiding you guys through it step by step. For example, I quickly just want to run you guys through everything that we've got planned for you guys to learn, because I do understand if you guys feel a bit pressured with all this information. The first thing we want to get into is all these shape layers, right? And now we've got an actionable step that's going to tie all of this information together. It's going to help us understand everything all together. Now, the second section that we're going into is animations. We're going to be learning how we can animate these shapes to get very cool shape animations. And once we've mastered animating, I want to use these shapes and everything to teach you guys animations. Once we have mastered animating inside of After Effects, which is going to be a big thing, then we can dive into the advanced effects overview. And the advanced effects is where you guys are going to be seeing how we use these functions to bring them to life inside of After Effects. So although nothing really makes sense right now and everything seems to be way easier in Premiere Pro, you guys are slowly going to see how we use these to create backgrounds, how we use solids to create backgrounds, how we use shapes to create icons, to create very cool placeholders, to create UI designs, how we use text to create very high quality subtitles, to create scenes, to set up high quality scenes, and how we use adjustment layers to do the post-production. You guys are going to be learning how to use these functions. But before all this, we need to recap all of it in one final actionable step. So I'll see you guys in the next episode where we're going to be practicing on an actionable step that's going to recap all of this all together. I'll see you guys there.